Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Shopping is hard, right? But I found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And he sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what works and send back the rest. It's so easy. Make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
Welcome to Speak. I'm Joy Taylor here with Super Bowl champion Keyshawn Johnson, NBA Finals MVP Paul Pierce, and Fox Sports senior NBA analyst Slick Rick Bucher. What's up, guys?
What's up, man? You've been lifting weights, so even they gave you a small shirt, one of the two.
A little bit of both.
Paul sit up there like this.
A little bit of both.
Paul greased arms today.
Yeah. Got the baby oil on the horn.
Okay.
All right, that's the show.
No.
2 minutes in, we already blew.
Let's start the show. Huge breaking NBA news. The Knicks announced that they are relieving Tom Thibodeau of his duties as head coach. Coach Tibb spent 5 years in New York, and the Knicks were eliminated from the playoffs in the Eastern Conference Finals just 3 days ago.
All right.
So, I mean, a little surprising to me anyway. Paul, what is this the right move for the Knicks to move on from Thibodeau?
Man, it's shocking. We've had some shocking firings this year, haven't we?
Yes.
This is like the third one. My boy Mike out in Memphis.
Taylor Jenkins.
Not Mike Malone in Denver.
Malone,
and then Taylor Jenkins out in Memphis.
Yeah.
And now this one, because Tibbs led them to the conference finals the first time in 25 years. Now, I would have understood it if they had lost the second round. Because that's what I was thinking, because I felt like if they didn't get past the second round with the roster, that, there could be a possibility of a coach's change, but he led them to the conference finals. And when I look at the Knicks, I'm like, shoot, Tibbs maxed them out. I really believe he maxed them. I felt like their ceiling was the conference finals because, yes, they were stacked in the starting lineup. They just didn't have the depth. When I looked at Indiana from top to bottom, and then I looked at the Knicks, I said, yeah, this is going to be a 6-game series. And I said it before the series started. But this is not a coach's problem. This is a roster problem. If anything, you come back with Tibbs, you add to the roster, and you see what you can do. I don't like this firing, to tell you the truth. I don't like none of the firings that happened this year. I don't like the trades that happened this year. You go from Luka to this has been the storylines. Think about Luka trade, the Mike Malone firing, and Taylor Jenkins and Tibbs. This has been a weird year for me.
Didn't they get Bud too?
Oh, yeah.
They got him in Phoenix.
Bud, you knew he was gone.
Yeah, but I'm saying I was just thinking
that
about
was like the most notable. Hit. Like Bud was the only
Mike
one.
Mike Brown got hit earlier in the year in Sacramento.
Yeah, but I'm saying it was 3 shocking firings and 1 shocking trade. Like this year has been a shocker. So, it was. It's mind-boggling, but I don't get it. But hey, that's the Knicks nicking.
You know what? When I look at it, they must have gotten tired of watching him run guys into the ground and only go 7.5 deep into the roster. I wouldn't have fired him. And it feels like somewhat of a knee-jerk reaction if you look at the history since Tibbs was there 5 years.
Yep.
Okay. 2021 was, somewhat of a pandemic year in basketball and professional sports in general. They go and they lose in the first round to the Hawks, and then in 21-22 they missed the playoffs. 2 straight years they go in the second round, they get popped once by the Heat, then the Pacers, and they come back in the Eastern Conference Final, and they lose to the Pacers. And now, 48 hours later, he's sent packing. Now, maybe he knew the writing could potentially be on the wall if he didn't advance to a certain level, get him to the finals. But the fact that every single year they continue to get better, they continue to keep growing, and this is a different roster than he had a year ago. And so they made a decision to move on from him. Now, who they gonna hire? What's out there that's better with this particular roster? And maybe whoever comes in says that I will extend the bench to 10 deep instead of 7 deep, and maybe I'll get 5 to 6 years out of the situation. But I wouldn't have fired him. I personally wouldn't. I'd have given him at least one more year.
One more, I would have.
One more year.
I think what we've seen is that your track record and whether you win or lose or how far you go in the playoffs isn't as big a factor as what are the relationships. What is your relationship with your GM? That's what got Mike Malone. That was a toxic environment, so it didn't matter that they were still winning. And then as soon as you're not winning, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think he had a great relationship with Leon Rose and Wes.
I think he did.
That was a guy.
I think he did initially. But to your point, the fact that you get to the playoffs and you have consistently not used your bench, and then you're forced to use your bench because of foul trouble, and it turns out your bench is pretty good. Your GM is looking at it going, you haven't been playing these guys all year long. We run out of gas. We get into foul trouble, and that's the only thing that forces you to utilize the pieces that I gave you. And so we're going to go in another direction. And look, Tibbs's calling card has been defense, right? That's what he's supposed to be exemplary at. And they were a mediocre defensive team during the season. They proved to be a mediocre defensive team in the postseason. And I think when you add it all up, where then you get into the nitty-gritty of how he handled the foul trouble with Jalen Brunson, and there's a couple of mistakes, clock management mistakes along the way. When you add all that up, it's like, you know what? We think we have enough talent to be contending for a title. And one more year, we got knocked out by the Indiana Pacers. We lost. I think that's the other part. You got knocked out by the same team, right? Just at a different level, but at an Indiana Pacers team where you look at talent-wise and you go, they don't have as much invested in their team. They don't have as much talent as we do. And then you look at why, and Rick Carlisle was able to utilize his entire roster better than Tibbs.
So now moving forward, though, Joy, fast forward ahead, do you microwave a guy like Mike Malone that's sitting out there that's probably, he's really the only championship coach that's available, right? That's sitting out there that's won a championship. Is that somebody that you could see possibly going to New York?
I mean, the only way I see this being the right move is they get somebody in there that can take them further than Tibbs did.
Yeah. The problem is with Malone, he's the same kind of guy as Tibbs.
Run him in the ground?
Well, hard-nosed, defensive coach, like...
But in totality, in his time there, they were a good defensive team.
Overall, yes.
They got better every year. They went to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. Yes, you lost to the Pacers back-to-back seasons, but I think we can all stop saying that the Pacers aren't a really good team. They're in the NBA Finals. They earned their way there.
Yes.
So this is confusing to me because what's the ultimate goal here? And if it's always like you got to have relationships with the GMs, then maybe shows like ours need to start saying the GMs' names more than the coaches' names. Because if they're the ones making these ultimate decisions and things don't go well, we continue to point to the coach because they're the ones we see on the sideline. But if they're not making the calls, then their names are the ones that we should be mentioning, to me. Yeah. Because, and I'm not a big fan of cycling through coaches. I would have given Tibbs another year. If you're getting better every year, if you're improving, yes, it's everyone's fault that they lost. They ran out of gas, they got into foul trouble, they didn't go deep enough on their bench, they didn't get it done, they didn't have enough talent. If you make it this far, it's everyone's fault, in my opinion. It wasn't a glaring, obvious reason, other than the Pacers were just better than them, which is what I saw from the beginning of this series. So I would have given him another year. And the only way I see this making sense is if next year they are marketably better than they are this year, because now you're really pressing reset. Are you going to go get a guy that is the hard-nosed guy that's going to essentially do exactly what Tibbs did? Well, if that doesn't work, then you just stop the momentum of what is proven to be a good coach that's developing a culture and a style and actually having success. Somebody has to lose.
Yeah. Well, there's one element here that we have to take into consideration, and that's that Jim Dolan is the owner of the Knicks. And
We've done so well. We made it like the whole season without talking about this.
I know. Well, but now we're at a crisis point where the ownership of Jim Dolan may be rearing its head, so we can't avoid the subject.
Fair enough.
This may be him where he just, he got a wild hair and he decided, you know what, I thought we were going to the finals for the first time and we're not, and somebody has to be blamed. And I'm going to blame the head coach. And then,
well, I think people can be blamed, but that doesn't mean that they have to be fired.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm not defending the move. I'm just trying to explain why it may have happened and why they may have been dissatisfied.
Yeah, while we're throwing names out there, that's probably appropriate to bring it up.
Prior to Tibbs' arrival, they had missed the playoffs for 7 straight years. Then he comes, they go to the playoffs, they lose to the Hawks. And they
went 4 of the last 5 seasons.
Yeah, they went 4 of the last 5 seasons, and they get it done, get it changed, and they wind up in the Eastern Conference Final.
I can kind of see why they let Tim go because the roster has its shortcomings, and that style of play is not going to get to NBA Finals either. So they probably figure if we bring back this style of play, it's still going to be the same thing. They probably said, hey, we've reached our limit. I think we have a roster that can possibly get to the finals, but we have to change the way we play because basically you depended on Jalen Brunson to make everything happen. His ball usage was very high. You depended on a guy who's, I don't even know, 6'1", soaking wet. 6'2", Jalen Brunson.
Oh, no, he's shorter than that.
6 feet.
I think he's listed as 6'2".
So
there's no way he's 6'2".
I'm just saying he's listed.
And I've said this.
Don't look at me like that.
And I said at the beginning of the year, if you're going to continue to build around a roster where Jalen Brunson is your best player, I think it peaked.
So look, though, Paul.
You may think that, and I'll let you go in a second, but keep in mind, they just sold the farm to get Mikal Bridges.
Yes.
They just sent Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo to Minnesota to go get Leon Rose's guy, Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
So in the minds of the front office, they're like, we gave you everything we could possibly give you. We went and got Mikal Bridges to form the Villanova boys. We went and got Karl Anthony Towns, which was considered an upgrade from Julius Randle, right? And ultimately, we didn't get there because we couldn't get past the same team we couldn't get past last year.
But look,
I think was the thing.
The question for all of y'all, though, if that ball doesn't bounce, no, seriously, if that ball doesn't bounce up and come right back down, or we having this conversation about a coach being fired and a team not making it to the finals, because I feel like that was the end be all right there.
I mean, it usually does come down to 1 or 2 plays.
Yeah, but that wasn't his fault.
I don't think it is his fault, but I don't think it's any specific fault. I think that the roster isn't quite good enough yet. I think the Pacers are a really, really good team, and we just haven't been able to say it yet, but we should. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and now they are in the NBA Finals. Bounce or no bounce.
And so now, based on what you just said, 1 year removed from the Eastern Conference Final, now in the finals, here we are with the Knicks could be 1 year removed from the Eastern Conference Final and wind up in the final.
Kept things the same.
And that's why I think they should have given him 1 more year.
Let me bring up one other thing. And again, this is also associated with what I know about Jim Dolan, which is when he walks into Madison Square Garden, he likes booed when the fans are excited. The Knicks lost home court advantage 2 out of 3 series, and they lost the first 2 games to Indiana. That leaves a mark. When you're leaving and your team is being booed out of your own building, that is going to affect a guy like Jim Dolan. And it may be a knee-jerk reaction, but we've seen that happen before.
Let me tell you, that's probably the worst home court advantage in all of basketball, the Knicks, because the players love to play there.
Yeah.
The
visiting players.
The visiting players love. I never hear players say, I love to come to the Boston Garden, or I love to go to Indiana and play there. Because they know what type of crowds is there. it's a respect thing with the New York fans, and it's the stage, and it's Spike Lee and the superstar. So you get, I done had some of my best games in that building. Yeah. Kobe, Steph, LeBron, these guys have had some of their best games in this building.
What was the best road arena you liked to play in, and what was the worst?
Well, New York Knicks. The Garden was
the best.
Yeah. The Staples and the Garden. The Crypto, saying, whatever you want to call it, Key.
Right.
Yeah, whatever you guys are calling it today.
The worst, I hated going to Philadelphia in the playoffs. Philly in the playoffs, they're
just rude.
They rude. They'll beat you up. Like, for real, you can't go nowhere to eat. You can't go nowhere to eat. You got a room. You got a room
almost as bad as the Boston fans.
No, Boston fans be pump faking, though. They don't really want no smoke.
We're not threatening.
No, they don't want no smoke.
A threat to you. Philly fans are a threat to you.
Philly fans, even from a football standpoint, they got, first of all, in the football stadium, they had a jail inside the football stadium. Yeah. Just think about that. They had a jail inside the stadium.
For real.
And they once booed Santa Claus.
Dang, that's bad.
Yeah,
right?
Philly's a little different. Yeah. The NBA Finals are just 2 days away. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is looking to be the first player in 10 years to win MVP and then lead his team to the championship. On the Pacers side, Tyrese Haliburton has emerged as a star during these playoffs and hopes to bring the Pacers their first championship in franchise history.
Man.
So, Paul, which star do you trust more in the finals, SGA or Haliburton?
All right, I'm going to say this and don't get mad.
Okay.
I know the obvious choice is going to be Haliburton, but SGA, but I chose Haliburton. And here's why. Now, SGA is a scorer. They need him to score 30, 32 points, 40. He's the leading scorer in the NBA, shown to be unstoppable. But I feel like you could devise a game plan to get the ball out of his hands and slow him down. I saw him slow down a bit in Denver. When that series, it was tough on him to score. They rely on that. You don't rely on Haliburton to get you 30. You don't rely on Haliburton to even get you 25. Now, he's going to get you a 15 and 13 game, and that can be enough for him to win. Whereas I'm not sure if SGA getting you 15 or 17 can beat you. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I could devise a game plan to say, hey, I can slow SGA, because this is what they'll tell you, and this is what we all know. Your offense comes and goes. And I know he's one of the great offensive players in the game today, but it might be a night where your shot don't go. Then what is there? Whereas Haliburton, he still, every night is going to give me between 10 and 15 assists. Like, that's almost like a guarantee, the way he moves the ball, the way he pushes the pace. And if he gives me 13 and 15, I can count on that as being enough, because he's got so many other people involved that is good enough for Indiana to win. So that's why I go with Haliburton on this one. And I know there's levels to this, because SGA has proved that he can't be stopped for the most part. But I feel like nobody has tried getting the ball out of his hands, double teaming him. And so that's why I say Haliburton in this issue.
See, SGA, obviously the MVP, averaging 30 points a game in the playoffs. That's what he's averaging. He's averaging 30, where Haliburton's averaging slightly under 19. Got about 9 assists a game, where the other guy has about 7 assists a game. I can't go away from an MVP who's been consistent this entire time. He's been consistent. Where Haliburton, he give you some moments where you look up and there's a few big shots, a few daggers there, here and there. But for the most part, he's not carrying his team at the same level that SGA is. And so for me, when I look at it, he's carrying his team. Like, he literally, like Paul said, he's got to score 30 every single, but I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that 30. I'm going to take that 40 if he's giving me 40.
Yeah.
Scoring 15 and having another 10 assists,
that's equivalent to almost 40.
That's cool, but if I'm giving you 35 and I'm giving you 8 assists, and everybody else is chiming in and doing what they're supposed to do, this is the reason that they are heavy favorites in the entire series, is because of that. They didn't just come up and just look at the stats and say, well, SGA's a better basketball player. They're looking at everything all around, Rick.
I read the question a little bit different. Like, who do I trust more? And SGA struggled a little bit against Denver, sure. But he was always trying to get there. That's where I don't trust Haliburton, because there have been times in these playoffs where he's been strangely passive. And you're right, he doesn't necessarily have to score, but he does have to get to the paint. He does have to be on the attack mode. And there's some times where I feel like he's just kind of deferring, especially if he's missed a couple shots early. I don't even care if he's making every shot, but if he's getting to the paint and he's open and he's taking those floaters, that forces the defense to respect him, and then it opens everything else up. It feels like Tyrese has evolved as the series has gone on, and I've seen fewer instances where he gets passive. So maybe at this point it's not something to worry about, but I've seen enough of it, whereas SGA, even when he struggled, he was getting to the free throw line. Like, he was still in attack mode, and it eventually got the job done. So that's where I trust SGA a little bit more, because I feel like I know the effort that I'm going to get.
And we're showing all these Haliburton highlights.
Of course.
He's had so many big moments this postseason.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to pick against the MVP, but this is a first-time situation for both of them.
Yeah.
These two young ascending teams. They're both going to be tested. From a scoring perspective, obviously, we're all going to pick SGA. It would be silly and go against math not to. But to Paul's point, Haliburton doesn't necessarily have to be the leading scorer to have the most amount of influence on the game. So if the Pacers are able to make things difficult on SGA specifically and take him out of the game in that way, is he going to be able to keep everyone else involved and keep them in the game? I guess we'll start to see how this is going to unfold once the series start, but I'm just hoping for a long series. Please give us 7, guys.
Yeah, I think it's going 7.
I've said that about every
Let me
series.
ask you this,
I've
Rick.
been wrong.
Does Haliburton wash what SGA does as far as production?
You mean
They cancel each other out.
yeah, in a way. In a way. I mean, that's where I think this series.
In a way, right?
Yeah, in totality.
Like, if I give you like he had a 15 assists.
No turnovers.
However you're producing the points.
Yeah.
You're producing points. It may not be under
15
your
assists
box
as at minimum 30 points. But you know they shoot a lot of threes, so that could be, he gave you a total of 50 points.
Yeah.
But you can say the same thing for OKC too, though, Paul.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I asked, do they cancel each other out?
Yeah, those two, to a degree. I think so,
Like
to a
maybe
degree.
SGA by a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm getting so many assists and so many points and you getting 30 and 5, like you probably your production is probably like 6 to 8 points better maybe.
I honestly feel like the benches could really determine this series, whether we get a good series or not. Does Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell, do they play Alex Caruso. and that group even?
Alex
Or
Caruso.
The interesting matchup for me in this one, I want to know who's going to guard Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be interesting. Are you going to put Chet on him?
You have the series going 7.
Well, yeah, I have it 7.
Wow.
I'm just going to keep saying 7 to make it happen and speak it into existence. Coming up, Micah Parsons was at OTAs last week, but hasn't been there this week. We'll tell you what's going on in Dallas next on Speak. And don't forget, you can check us out every day on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM.
Don't worry, I got that like that.
Malik Neighbors went for 1,200 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns as a rookie, despite having 4 different quarterbacks. New Giants quarterback Russell Wilson says he's been watching Malik's film, and that contributed to his decision to come to the Giants. Speak up, Russ.
Turn on the film and watching this guy Malik Neighbors, man. This dude's a superstar. Mm-hmm. You know, I saw him. I was watching the film and just before I try to make decisions, try to get a clear understanding of who the players are, this and that. And obviously, you see the highlights and everything else, but when you watch every single catch and every single rep and every play, you get to see the kind of player he is, man. He's dynamic. He touches that football, he gone.
So, Key, would you ever have signed with a team because of one player?
I signed with the Panthers. Shut up, Paul. Because of Dan Henning and Deshaun Foster. Deshaun Foster was born and raised here in L.A., obviously went to UCLA, but a good friend of mine.
He signed with the Panthers. That's the only team that wanted him.
I knew you was going to say something. I knew your ass was going to say something like that. But I signed because of Dan Henning, my former offensive coordinator with the Jets. So it's not the same as a player, you know.
He signed because one team wanted him at the time.
Is that what Russ doing?
Right, because that was the only team that wanted him.
That might be, that's somewhat truthful.
It just helps. It helps. Key, what are your expectations for Russ and Malik Neighbors as a duo this season?
To kind of be a legitimate, I don't want to call them threat, but like a legitimate duel. Basically duplicating similar numbers to what Malik had a year ago. Only he'll do it with maybe 1 or 2 quarterbacks instead of 4 quarterbacks. That 1,200 plus yards, that 7 touchdowns, somewhere in that number. A couple splash plays here and there to help them get a win or two.
So you think they'll put up some numbers together?
Yeah, first of all, they're not going to be a very good football team. So they're going to be in 2-minute offense before the half, which means they're going to be throwing the ball all over the lot. At the end of games, they're going to be in 2-minute offenses at the end of games, which means they're going to be throwing the ball all over the lot. So their numbers are going to be somewhat inflated just because they're not going to be a very good football team, and they're going to be behind a lot.
Think they're going to be better than they were last year?
I'll be shocked.
I don't know.
I'm going to be shocked.
If they were better?
I don't know.
If the league put up better numbers this year than he did last year. Because I think the Giants are just not going to be a very good football team.
I don't think they're going to be good, but I don't know.
So that means they're not going to just be throwing the ball all over the lot. They're going to be conservative, run the ball, it's going to be similar to what we saw in Pittsburgh. And with the brutal schedule that they got, it's going to be hard to get the type of numbers that he got a year ago because, look.
They honestly don't get a break in their first 5 games until they see the Saints. And then it picks right back up, Joy, because after the Saints, they got the Eagles, the Denver Broncos, the Eagles again, and the 49ers.
So what's going to stop me and keying in on Neighbors now? Like, look, okay, we're going to make sure we're going to double him. And then what y'all going to do? Where y'all going to go? So it's going to be tough. When the focus is all on you as the top receiver, I just feel like it's going to be tough. And Russ doesn't have much left in the tank. And so I just feel like it's just not, I don't see this as a great tandem. Until the Giants bring in a quarterback of the future that he can legitimately pair with Neighbors and say, hey, I think this duel is going to be it for us moving forwards, then I think it's just going to be a lot of up and down play.
You know what's so crazy, Joy? And Paul is talking about, we're talking about how good they could be and how bad they're going to be. I just looked at their schedule.
It's brutal.
They might win 2 damn games.
That's what I tried to tell you.
I literally just looked at it.
I told you it's brutal.
I don't got them beating Washington, the Cowboys, Kansas City, the Chargers.
They might be 1-8.
I got them beating the Saints.
1-8.
I got them beating the Saints. I don't have them beating Philly, Denver, Philly, San Francisco. They could beat Chicago, maybe, depending on what Chicago looks like. I don't got them beating Green Bay, Detroit. I don't have them beating New England. Washington again, Minnesota, the Raiders at the Raiders, or the Cowboys at the end of the season. They might win 2 games. That's sad.
Man, that's brutal.
Like it's over, Giants.
It looks like the toughest schedule.
I didn't really peep the schedule till I just looked at it. I'm like, damn.
I might, maybe I'm crazy then. Maybe I'm crazy.
I don't know.
You see the schedule?
I think they're going to be better than everyone thinks they are. Russ is a much better option at quarterback than what they had last year.
Yes, but you're not listening, Joy.
What?
They play Washington to open up.
Uh-huh.
At Washington, at Dallas. Dallas just owns them.
Maybe.
And then
Yeah, they do. They own them.
prime
They just own
time
them.
versus Kansas City. That's
Then they got prime time.
They're not losing prime time.
Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got the Chargers, which is another playoff team.
I don't know that they're beating the Chargers.
No, I don't have them
or losing to the Chargers.
Chargers are a playoff team. New Orleans, they could beat them. Then they got Philly, Denver, Philly, San Francisco.
So they play Philly twice in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
They on a mission to destroy the Giants.
I hear you, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little delusional.
All New York now. Okay.
No, the New York Jets and the New York Giants have nothing to do with each other. I think they're going to be better than what they were with Daniel Jones, Drew Lock,
and that may be true, but
DeVito and Boyle.
I'm looking at the.
I got the under 1.5 in the first 9 weeks.
Just stop.
I'm going to roll with you. They might win 1 game.
I got the under 1.5.
In the first 10 weeks of the season, they might win 1 game, and that's against the Saints.
That's brutal. That schedule's brutal.
I think that they could win 4.
Who they going to beat?
In the first 9 weeks?
Mm-hmm. I think they could beat the Chargers. I think they'll beat the Saints. I think they could split with the Eagles. And we'll see what San Francisco is as well.
They have the hardest strength of schedule in the national.
All right, well, you know what?
League,
the internet knows where to find me when I'm super
I don't want
wrong.
to lead the internet
And they're, they've
Let the
only won 1
internet
game.
has rested over the last several days. Let it.
It's because I've been gone.
Yes, let it rest more.
Let them take a nap. I don't know. All right. Well, you know what? I'm higher on the Giants than everybody else. Staying in the NFC East, though, the Cowboys are without Micah Parsons at OTAs this week. Micah was there last week, and head coach Brian Schottenheimer said that their superstar pass rusher will be back next week for mandatory minicamp.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're nothing to worry about?
You don't want to get fined. You show up for minicamp.
Should they be concerned about his absence?
No, because whatever he's doing in terms of his absence, they already knew going into OTAs. Whatever he's doing, he may be just on vacation still, extended vacation. OTAs, whatever, they don't have to worry about. Mandatory minicamp is what you worry about. Mandatory minicamp and training camp. Because when you start missing mandatory minicamp and training camp, you know what that means, Joy? I don't give a bleeping blunt. I want my damn money.
Ooh. And you expect him to be there?
Yeah.
So you think the deal's going to get done?
I don't know that the deal is going to get done, but I expect for him to be there because he doesn't want to be fined. He's not trying to give money.
If he skips out on mandatory minicamp, which starts on June 10th, he can get fined.
Yes.
But because he's still in his rookie deal, the Cowboys can waive those fines if he eventually signs a new contract.
Yeah, but he's not going to do that, though.
Would you do that?
No, I would go to minicamp.
Mandatory.
Yeah, I always went to mandatory stuff. OTAs, miss me. I'll show up 1 week, hang out, disappear for another couple weeks.
Even if the deal's not done?
Yeah, even if the deal's not done. I'm going to mandatory camp. I'm going to do that. It doesn't mean I have to participate either, though. I can just lift weights, jog, and chill, which I'm sure he's going to do.
He's got to be frustrated, though. He's got to be. But the thing is, Key, Joy, look at all the off-season signings that's happened. Think about it. Jamar, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. You looking at all that.
Let me ask you this then, Paul.
You looking at all that like, when that's coming on TV.
I'm about to ask you.
Yeah.
So do you think that he's seen something on paper that has some big numbers on it already that they proposed to his agency? Yes, he has. So he's cool. He knows I'm getting at least that. Whatever that is, he knows. Oh, okay, they offered me whatever. Let me just throw a number out there, 175 with 130 of it fully guaranteed. He already knows I'm at least right there. So he's good.
So why isn't it done?
Because he probably wants to do some other stuff. But he knows that 130, as Joy would refer,
usually
the internet, I'm just making this up. That doesn't mean that I'm right. I'm just giving something so we can have a conversation.
No, but Keith, if numbers was thrown out, we know about that. If numbers...
No, they've changed.
Dallas.
They've exchanged proposals. They've exchanged proposals.
Cowboys.
They've been talking.
We'll know, Micah received the offer, but that's not quite there yet.
No, they talking. They talking heavy. It's just some numbers got to be moved around. Yeah. So he knows whatever that number is, he's at least getting that. Now, whether the language is right or whatever the case is, I don't know. But he will eventually sign with the Dallas Cowboys and be back in the fold, ready for the start of the season.
Paul, you think they should be concerned?
I would. I mean, I would. Because if I'm Micah, I'm disgruntled right now. I'm seeing all these.
Cool? What you gonna do?
Now, listen. Right now, I'm supposed to be on vacation, signed up, celebrating while y'all doing OTAs. I'm supposed to be like, yeah.
But
I see all that mandatory.
He's been in the league long enough. He can still do
I see all that mandatory. I'm supposed to be like, yeah, we got that. Hey, we made it, Ma. He supposed to be a damn mandatory's come. I'm locked in.
He's straight for right now.
But everybody else got a chance to do that. I need to be doing that.
He's gonna be able to do it. He's a
because now it's mandatory. I'm assigned during mandatory, and I didn't get to yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now I gotta wait till after the season now.
After time.
You know what I'm saying?
This is the time you need to be taking care of your body.
Yeah.
You gotta start getting into
you're
shape.
supposed to be relaxing because I'm gonna be taking these hits on my shoulder, my legs, these bruises for the next 16, 17 weeks. I need to be.
He gonna be turned. No, he's turned up from mid-June to mid-July.
That's
he got about 4 to 5 weeks to turn up and celebrate.
I need now.
Paul crazy as hell.
I need to be over there with the Knicks in Cancun, right now today. Hank, my bad. You know what? My bad. My last day was I was done with the Knicks. You're right. We done with them.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing. They've evolved to other areas of the world other than Cancun these days.
Yeah.
Money is great, so they can get over They can go all the way over to the
Yeah,
pond.
but that's the lowest hanging fruit, though, real quick. We gonna get there quick.
Joey, what we gonna do with our running date? The lowest hanging fruit
We gonna get there in like
is
2
Cancun.
hours. Yeah, 2-3 hours from Dallas. Man. Come on, let's go right now, fellas.
Let's load up.
Yeah, let's go. About 10 of us. We go.
I just hope that they don't drag this out like they do with the other deals. So we got to talk about this all the way up through training camp.
I don't think so. I think it gets done. He'll be in training camp participating because they've already started the negotiations. You remember with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, they hadn't started exchanging proposals until later in the summertime, until they started. They started this process with him, I want to say at least a month and a half ago.
That's why if I'm him, I'm frustrated. Like, we should have been. I'm supposed to be, yeah.
Well, let's see, yeah. Coming up, will this be our last...
You going out with, I'm going out with Tony.
Our last image of Giannis in a Bucks uniform. Kyle Kuzma said he's going to fight Giannis if he leaves Milwaukee. We'll talk about it next on Speed.
My middle name is Anthony, so you wouldn't.
Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. And as your vacation maximizationer, I'm going to make sure you hear the maximum sizzle of Comfort Inn's free hot breakfast. Let's get real close. Maximum apple. Now that's fresh crispimization. Maximum waffle. Hear that crunch. And that's maximum coffee. Oh yeah, that's the pour I'm talking about. Breakfast maximized before hitting the road. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
It's time to check in on our social life. Kyle Kuzma just joined the Bucks mid-season, and now Milwaukee's cornerstone star might be on the trading block. So Kuzma posted a video of himself on social media doing a kickboxing workout with the caption, "Meet a Giannis if you leave next year," with 4 laughing, crying emojis. So it's a threat enough for Giannis to stay, Paul?
You don't need a lot more than that. Giannis is 7 feet, can do all that, and where's Giannis from?
Nigeria. Via Greece.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they train a little different than these American trainers. You need a little more than that.
Kuzma doesn't really scare me in that, I don't know.
Man, they probably...
If it had to go down, I'm taking Giannis, though. I'm going to take Giannis.
On the reach alone, right?
No, it's just,
I go off hair texture based on who I'm taking.
Crazy. No, that's real talk, though. But in other words, but I also know what Paul is really getting at. It ain't just the texture of the hair. It's also, I know what you're saying.
Hey, we got a picture of Giannis' hair texture and Kuzma's next to Kuzma.
All right.
Yeah, Paul got some of that Giannis.
I got that.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
I hate y'all. All right, well, all eyes are on Giannis and what his NBA future holds. Giannis is
Look at that texture right there, man.
Will you stop? God.
Giannis is said to be open-minded about his next steps. And there is a new report that he and the Toronto Raptors have mutual interests.
Oh, man.
So, Rick.
Don't ask me to save this show at this point.
I was going to ask you about the hair texture question.
I definitely ain't taking Rick in that matchup. No, I'm messing with you. You my boy, Rick. I got your back.
That scares me even more.
Okay.
Let's look around. He's not there.
Paul, does Giannis to the Raptors make sense?
You know what? I look at Giannis as a player that, like, I want to get to somewhere where I'm closer to a championship. Now, Toronto has some key pieces, but then to get Giannis, you're going to have to give up some key pieces. So I just feel like Scotty Barnes is the centerpiece over there. Mm-hmm. Y'all coming off of him? You know what? As a matter of fact, we need a little more than Scotty Barnes. We need R.J. Barrett, too. So now you implement Giannis and you pair him with Brandon Ingram, and you say, is that enough to win a championship in the East? Probably not. So It doesn't make the most sense to me. I have some other teams that even make better sense as far as getting Giannis to a place where he could possibly win a championship.
Like where?
I'm not sure if that's out east. For instance, Giannis to Houston wouldn't be bad. You know, you can trade, what's the young kid?
Alperen Sengun?
Sengun? Yeah, because I like Sengun, but I feel like he's a complementary piece. I don't feel like Sengun could be a best player on a chip team. So, you know, there's better options with younger pieces. You got to remember, Houston was the number 2 seed. They got a couple veterans over there. They probably would need one more piece, like a closer, because I don't look at Giannis as like a definite closer. But he's closer being in Houston than he would be in Toronto.
I actually disagree. I can make a case, and it really comes down to the story that Masai Ujiri, the GM of the Raptors, is able to tell. And two of the most important elements to that story is, one, you're my Nigerian brother.
I was about to say that.
Right? And two, I know how to build a championship team. I've done it before here in Toronto when people thought that that was impossible. And yes, I would have to give up Scotty Barnes. But I also have to make a deal that the Milwaukee Bucks are willing to accept. And in Scotty Barnes, I'm getting a potential centerpiece at 23 years old. Has already been an all-star. And if I have to give up an R.J. Barrett or one of those other pieces, I still have Brandon Ingram, I still have Emmanuel Quickley, and I have Giannis Antetokounmpo as my centerpiece. And if I'm looking at the East, I'd much rather try to get there in the East than I would in the West. Even as good as Houston was during the regular season, man, it's a minefield over in the Western Conference. I don't know that trading out Alperen Sengun for Giannis really moves the needle significantly for Houston in the Western Conference.
Indiana. That was the one I was thinking. Indiana.
But then I'm giving up. You're gonna have to give up a lot though for him to go to Indiana. Well, no matter where he goes, you're depleting the roster to some degree.
To some degree,
where he goes.
To some degree, but like if I'm trading out Giannis for Scotty Barnes, and let's throw in R.J. Barrett, and Toronto owns all of their picks, so you can throw in 2 or 3 picks. I've got a team that is competitive right from the start. And here's the other part is I've got to do something. I mean, I have to give something up where Milwaukee says, 1, we're willing to do this deal, and 2, that Giannis says, and this is the biggest part, and this is where Masai comes in their relationship, Giannis has to say, that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
That's going to have a huge influence on this.
Only way I can see that is if he wants to live in Toronto.
Because
of how international he is.
Yes.
I mean, anything is.
I don't think it's going to be a problem for him.
Too, though.
Yeah. No, live in Toronto is great.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place. Better than Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Because he's an international star, going to Toronto.
Have a shot with this dude.
No, but I'm saying that's he might want to live. That's the only way I can see him wanting to go there because he wants to live there.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't put him any closer to a championship.
Not at all.
Well, there's one other element that I would throw in there is if you move Scotty Barnes, Giannis now becomes the centerpiece. Like there's a lot of other places where, and Houston's the exception because you're moving out Sengun, but a lot of the other places where he'd be closer to a title, he's coming in on somebody else's turf. And who knows if he wants that? Or does he want to be the centerpiece?
It depends on what you're talking about, though. If you're talking about an Indiana team, then yeah, he's coming in on somebody else's turf because it's Haliburton's turf, but Giannis is a bigger piece than Haliburton. Having already won MVPs, having already won championships, it's just a bigger
more
piece.
Proven player, but I'm still coming in like this is your team. This is Haliburton's team.
Not if Giannis goes there, though.
Let me tell you what makes the most sense. No, Minnesota makes the most sense for him. You pair him with Ant-Man, give up some of them young pieces that they got over there.
What you gonna move? You gonna move DiVincenzo again? You gonna move? You gonna move Julius Randle again? McDaniels again?
Yep.
Then you gonna be depleting the roster.
I don't know how good you're gonna be.
I got 3-year window though.
Yeah, but you're depleting the roster.
I got a 3-year window with Giannis and Ant-Man though. I'll take that.
I think Houston makes the most sense. I don't like Giannis to the Raptors at all. I don't think the Raptors are in the same position as they were when Kawhi went there. It's a great pitch, but the Raptors were perennially at the top of the East when Kawhi went there, which is why the second that he got there, they won a championship because they were right there knocking on the door year after year after year. Toronto's not there. And even if they were, they'd have to give up so many pieces that it would take a step back. And then the expectation would immediately be that they need to go in and win a championship right away, because why wouldn't Giannis be able to do that if Kawhi would?
Well, that's not the story I'm telling if I'm Masai Ujiri.
No, but that's the truth. Like, that's what happened. Like, I think that the Raptors in that situation were primed for a star to come in and take them over the top. It made sense to me that Kawhi was able to do that. And you can say, you know, people got injured along the way, whatever. Like, that happens every single year. But this is not the same Raptors team as that. They are not in the same situation as an organization. They were much closer then. If I'm Giannis and I'm leaving Milwaukee, a place that I've already brought a championship that is essentially my organization, I've got to go somewhere where I'm ready to be, not necessarily win right this year, but I've got to be able to be competitive. And whatever that exchange is going to be isn't going to deplete the team so much that now I'm carrying the team, because why would I leave Milwaukee? That's the situation I'm already in.
Okay, but let me flip that around. If you are the Milwaukee Bucks, who would you rather have, Scotty Barnes or Alperen Sengun? Because that's part of it.
Yeah, obviously Scotty Barnes has more upside because of his athleticism, but the production that Sengun is, he's a more consistent player and an all-star.
Yeah.
So it's a toss of coin on that aspect. Neither one of them are 1A superstars.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, not that it necessarily matters, but obviously Houston's in the West, so if they don't want to send Giannis somewhere in the East, that could play a factor in it as well.
As a player, I ain't going to the West either, though. I'm going to just stay in the East and find me an East Coast team. Because going to the West, it's about 7 teams.
Well, you got to figure this, Keith. The Golden State is probably going to fall off. Lakers falling off.
Nobody asked you anything about the Lakers.
No, I'm telling you the teams that's falling off.
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Lakers,
Phoenix, Golden State, they all.
Phoenix been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, they done. But I'm just.
Did you mention the Lakers? The Lakers probably
the Lakers
falling
again. And then the Lakers again.
Y'all gonna have me cuss and these people gonna get mad at me.
Both Indiana and OKC are small market teams looking for their first championship. For years, the NBA has been dominated by stars and so-called super teams, but this year's finals suggests that maybe there's a shift. Pacers center Miles Turner talked about that change. Let's take a listen.
I think it's a new blueprint for the league, man. It's just, I think the years of the super teams and, stacking is just not, it's not as effective as it once was, you know what I mean? This NBA, since I've been in the league, this NBA is very trendy, it just shifts. But the new trend now is just kind of what we're doing. OKC does the same thing, young guys get out and run, defend, and, use the power of friendship is how they call it.
Power of friendship?
Power of friendship. Man, that's a good one, though.
That's how you build the super teams in the first place, with the friendship.
That's how they built the super teams.
Right. That's how hey, Paul, or KG, Ray, come play with me.
Hey, this is Steph. Hey, KD, let's go to the Hamptons real quick. Hang out.
Yeah, that's friendship.
Different kind of friendship. Rick, do you agree that the NBA has evolved past super teams? And by definition of super teams, obviously we mean a team that is building through trades and free agency. It's not a homegrown situation.
So will we look at the Dallas Mavericks as a super team when they went to the finals with Luka? Because they did make a trade, but it wasn't big pieces trade. It was P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford. To me, I don't put that in that category.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm thinking when you collect superstars.
We're talking about Golden State Warriors adding KD. We're talking about the Miami Heat bringing together Chris Bosh and LeBron James.
And I would say that
Brooklyn.
when KD went to the Warriors was the last time that we really saw that in full. Because I can go back to, like the Toronto Raptors. We just mentioned them, right? You added Kawhi Leonard, but that was just a good team. Mm-hmm. The teams that I'm seeing in the finals, as I go through the entire list, are all teams that might have had one great player. The Denver Nuggets, one great player. The Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, but it was really their role players that were as big a reason why they got to the finals. I'm looking at the Golden State Warriors in 2022. Like, no one looked at Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole as like that, right? And Klay Thompson wasn't the same player. Draymond Green wasn't the same player. So I've been looking for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been looking at teams that might have that superstar, But the reason that they end up in the finals is because they have depth and versatility on their roster. It's not the big three model. I think the big three model was outdated 4 or 5 years ago. We look at the Bucks and after the fact, after they won, now we're going to make Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton part of the big three. But it was Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton and Jeff Teague and like all of the pieces contributing, Brooke Lopez. Like that's what made them a championship team. So yes, I do think that the NBA has evolved past super teams, and I think it's going to continue to go in that direction, that the OKCs, and the Indiana Pacers, why are they where they are?
See, because
they have depth.
Last super team for me was the LeBron James Miami Heat team. No, I understand what you're saying with the Golden State situation and KD, but they had already won. But
that doesn't necessarily mean they were a super team. They did win.
But they had already won, though. What he's saying is homegrown, young, fast, running up and down the court, doing the thing.
You know what the motto was of that first Warriors championship team?
That right there.
No.
Strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers.
Oh, strength in numbers. But if you look at the Miami situation, or if you look at when Paul and them won, that was a super team. They assembled, even though Paul was there, they still went and assembled the two guys that they needed to get them over the top. So whenever you see the poster, you're going to see those three heads right there.
Yeah.
And that's
was
how
it's 2008.
Yeah, so to me, that's been gone. It's been gone a long time ago. Because everybody that continues to try to do it, Joy, whether it's Brooklyn, they failed. Right? Phoenix failed. Philadelphia has failed. And they keep trying to recycle it over and over and over. But the young teams are the ones...
Clippers failed.
Clippers, well, they always fail.
Multiple times.
If you look at it, those teams are the ones that are in the mix right now with the homegrown players that are young, that's getting up and down the floor. Even our, whatever Paul called it, Mickey Mouse Championship, we didn't have three, we had two. We had LeBron and AD.
Agreed.
That's who we really had, and we had a bunch of other players around them.
I think we got to start redefining what the super teams is now. It's not three, it's two. That's going to be the new definition because the way the collective bargaining is, it's hard to get. So if we redefine it, in Boston's a super team.
I don't even think it's two. It might be one.
Boston's a super team right now.
But it's homegrown.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree just based on the collective bargaining agreement, it's going to be hard to get 3 stars. But it's going to happen again. It's always happened throughout the course of history because you're going to have a great team, and then you're going to have an aging superstar that's like, look, I'm going to come over there for less money. That's going to make us worse. Now, there's ebb and flows to where you got to think about how many super teams has there really been in the last 25 years since 2000? Like Shaq and Kobe wasn't a super team. What was the first super team from 2000 to 2010?
Wait a minute. Shaq and Kobe weren't a super team?
No.
He's saying it was only 2, not 3.
We probably was the first super team in 2008.
Oh, in terms of 3 stars.
Yeah. And then Miami.
Okay, if that's your strict definition.
I
think 3 is the definition of
it.
That's
like in the last 25 years,
I'm
there's
good
only
with
been
whatever
3.
definition we go with.
San Antonio Spurs wasn't a super team.
But if we go with 3, then the Boston Celtics are not a super team.
Why not?
No,
because it wasn't.
Yes, they are, because we're redefining it.
Who are the 3?
We're redefining super teams.
Tatum, White, and Brown.
You're not redefining it. You just gave me a definition, and now you're going to change it?
Look, go Tatum, White, and Brown. Just go that. Tatum, White, and Brown.
No.
Why?
Because.
3.
You're just choosing.
Tatum, they so deep, I'm just grabbing the 3.
I know, exactly right. You're just grabbing a third one.
If you got 3 guys on the Olympics on one team, then that's a super team.
There's a difference between a great team and a super team.
Yes, thank you, Joy.
The definition of a super team is something.
Why are you looking at me? You should be looking at Paul when you say this.
The definition of a super team is something that is assembled. Like the stigma of the super team is that it's somehow like cheating or like, skipping the line.
Yeah.
Like that's why there is that sort of
manufactured.
animosity. It's manufactured.
Well, that's true.
It's not, he even said stacking, Miles Turner. Like and there are plenty of things to look at with those quote unquote super teams that you can say are just good business. Like LeBron, Wade, and Bosh took less money to play together. They were able to sort that out. the Golden State Warriors do business so well that they had the money to bring in a Kevin Durant. They could keep all of those players, Draymond, Clay, Steph, and have room for a Kevin Durant and still have depth. Those are just well-run organizations.
Yeah.
So Boston, like when you're looking at how those teams are assembled, you've had some big failures in it, but you've also had homegrown failures. So I agree with Paul. It'll come back around at some point. Somebody's going to be available. Someone's going to be disgruntled. Someone's going to put together a quote-unquote super team, and it will be successful again. Because you see this ebb and flow throughout the league always.
But this, I would say, there's one element that's different, and that's the new collective bargaining agreement, the new salary cap rules, that once you hit a certain point in salaries...
It's always been like that.
No. This is different now. You hit a certain point, you not only get the luxury tax, but they take away your ability to improve your roster around the edges. You get all the exceptions go away. Your trades have to be exact, like dollar for dollar. They've purposely made it difficult, I think, to build super teams because they want players, they want stars to stay in their locales rather than bunching together.
That's why Paul said the older superstar will find a team with two younger dudes that you know, and take, I done made a couple $100 million, I'm chilling now.
I want to see the guy who decides I'm going to take way less to go when I can still make max.
Was there a third person in Houston with James and CP3? Was there a third, or was it just those two?
But Dwight Howard was there for a hot minute.
No, but I mean the year they lost to Golden State.
It was just them.
It was just those two?
Yeah.
I was trying to think. I was like, did they have a third guy?
Them too.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the risk with those teams is as well, everybody has to be healthy, and your role players, to your point, have to contribute at a super high level. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to put together an almost perfect roster because you're so top-heavy, and if anybody goes down for any reason at all, it's basically a wrap. So there's so much that has to go right when the team is built that way, as opposed to what the Pacers or OKC is built like. Obviously, if their the top star goes down, it's a problem. But you have more depth, you have more flexibility.
But I also think that this is a reflection of how the game is played today, because it's a more athletic game, it's a more up and down game, and so your depth becomes more important. Like, you can't play three guys 40 minutes a night, and you're going to have injuries if you don't give guys a rest, or you're not able to manage their minutes. So I believe that part of what is driving this new structure of rosters is the way the game is being played. Because what have we said about Oklahoma City from the beginning of the playoffs was like, they're one of the few teams that could afford an injury and still not miss a beat. And I think that, like, realizing, you know what, injuries are taking teams down left and right. Maybe we need to build our team so that we can survive an injury.
Yeah, have some depth. Coming up, the Timberwolves season is over, so it's time for our exit interviews. We'll give you our grades for Ant and Rudy Gobert next to speak.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
The Timberwolves season ended in the conference finals for the second year in a row. This time, the Thunder eliminated Minnesota in a gentleman's sweep. Before everyone gets on a flight to Cabo, though, it's time for the Wolves' exit interview. So, Paul, what grade are you giving Anthony Edwards this season?
Edwards, you give me the B+, because I know B+, Ant, because you know what? I got high expectations for you. I think you're going to be one of the greatest players to ever play this game. I think your ceiling is higher than a lot of players' ceiling in this league, and I think you got a lot of room to grow. So B+ for me. Nobody expected y'all to get to the conference finals. Y'all did. You got it.
How do you get a grade for what you're gonna do?
Well, they made it to the conference finals.
Mr. Paul sees the potential in every student.
Hey, Rick.
P, what you got?
Send your daughter to my class. I got her.
I got a B.
She's gonna get A's and B's.
I'm gonna give Ant-Man a straight up B. I mean, he got him back to the conference final again. 23 years old. He continues to just keep getting better and better. Knocked down threes, got better at the three-point shot. Didn't play particularly well in the postseason as well as he would have liked, but he's going to come back to the drawing board in the offseason.
Okay, lots of potential for next year's class.
A lot of projection here.
What do we got, Mr. Rick?
Yeah, man, you know this dude. He going to, man.
Jeez.
All right, a C.
I'm giving him a C. He improved his three-point shooting. Oh, wait a minute. No, he didn't. His numbers were worse in the playoffs than they were a year ago.
We're looking at a year as a whole.
He got
judging on one playoff.
The entire playoffs.
Jeez.
The entire playoffs this year versus the entire playoffs last year. Shot the three worse, scored less, and ultimately got gentlemanly swept for the second year in the row in the Western Conference. So, congratulations. You basically were the same as you were a year ago.
I'm gonna go B-. He wasn't particularly consistent in the postseason. Could have had some bigger performances. I think it put them in a different position. I'm not going to judge off what's going to potentially happen next year. I think
Thank you, Joy.
I just need to focus on just this year.
Thank you, Joy.
I think it was good they went to the conference finals, but I would have liked to see them improve on last year. All right.
I didn't.
Paul, what grade are you giving Julius Randle?
You guys are going to hate me for this grade, but I'm giving Julius Randle an A+. Julius, they wouldn't have got to the conference finals without you. The way you dominated the Lakers, the way you dominated Golden State with triple doubles. Yeah, you didn't play like you did in the first couple of rounds, but for you to come in on your first year, learn a new system, coming off injury, and bring us to back to the conference finals, we're going to have some conversations this summer because we're going to have to re-sign you, and we're going to move forward. Julius, A+, my boy.
I want Mr. Paul's class.
No, I'm going B-.
No
I'm going to give him a B-. Too inconsistent for me. And you talk about dominating the Lakers, I mean, pretty much everybody dominated us on the defensive end when we had to guard somebody, so I'm not giving him anything, but I'm giving him a B- there. Inconsistent, especially in the postseason. One game, you're giving me 20+, the next game, you're giving me less than 10. Then the same thing happens, you give me 20, then you give me less than 10. So it's a B-. Even though it's a new system in this situation, if I'm gonna be Batman, I need you to be Robin, and when Batman is off, Robin's gotta step up, and he didn't do that.
Well, why is your B sad?
Because it's a minus.
Because it's a minus.
Okay. Well, I'm going B.
Okay.
A happy B?
Happy B.
Who is this for?
Happy B.
Okay.
Look, he put up better numbers in the playoffs than in the regular season, and he had career best numbers in the playoffs this year. The feeling was that when they made the trade, that the Minnesota Timberwolves were taking a step back. And the fact is, they got to the same place. So in large part because of Julius Randle. We're not that far off, Paul, in terms of our view of what Julius did.
You just didn't give him a perfect grade? Yeah, he did not get a perfect grade.
Yeah.
They did not get to their ultimate goal. He was not consistent. They had some opportunities to come up big or at least just be consistent, and he wasn't. So I'm going to give him a B-. A+ is great.
Hey, Rick, you done threw that about 5 times the last couple days and ain't hit me once, and I ain't moved. Your aim is off, man.
All right. Rudy Gobert. Paul.
Ooh. Rudy Gobert. You know, when you're 7'2" or 7'3" and you fail to get 10 rebounds in the Western Conference Finals, it's a C. You know, 2 years in a row now, he's failed to be a defensive presence in the Western Conference Finals. And he went missing after that Game 5 versus the Lakers when he turned into Rudy Wilt Chamberlain Gobert. I didn't see him since. I thought he'd have more impact. But overall, just average for me. I thought he could have did better. So he ends up with a C for me.
Yeah, I'm a D-.
Man.
Maybe I'm a D-. You mentioned the Laker Game 5. He looked like the second coming of Shaq and Bill Russell and everybody else all rolled up into one. Big for no reason. The rest of the playoffs. Like, couldn't jump over a phone book. Dude at the cup, scared to shoot the ball. No real defensive presence. It's supposed to be defensive player of the year and all this sort of things, but yet he looked just like a dude, big for no reason, walking down the hallway.
In the grocery store, he can get
He can get to the top.
Paper towel.
Excuse me, Mr. Gobert, can you grab that applesauce at
I
the
know I
top?
always get asked when I'm in the grocery store, sir, can you grab that? He can do that too.
Very useful.
He can get it. He can get a top
So
shelf
you
in the
talk for
back.
something. You talk for something.
Yeah.
Big for no reason.
I'm going to give him a C- because he did have his moments earlier on in the playoffs against the Warriors
Mr. Rick with a
and the Lakers.
soft spot for Gobert.
Well, look, he wasn't the same defensive presence during the regular season, and he averaged only 1 blocked shot per game against OKC. He was a minus in 3 of the 5 games, if I'm not mistaken. But I know what Gobert is, and he gave me more than I expected when it came to the Warriors and the Lakers. So I'm going to give him some credit for that.
We didn't have no big. Number one, the Lakers.
That has not mattered with Gobert.
You know?
I'm gonna have to go D. I think we all know why.
Jeez, he was a dog on defense.
Because there was no D.
Well, I mean, it's just
Fence.
you cannot
No defense.
No defense. This is
Paul,
what you're there
no
for. You're there for
defense.
rebounding. You're there for defense. That if you're not scoring, you should be at least consistently putting up those numbers.
I'm 3 out of 4.
Yeah. So I'm surprised by that. That Rick. Paul,
Big for no reason.
what would you give head coach Chris Finch?
I'm giving Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, I got a B for him for the simple fact you led a number 6 seed to the Western Conference Finals. Now, all of us on this panel thought the Lakers would definitely beat Minnesota. They exceeded our expectations. Then they go to the second round. Everybody thought Golden State would beat them too with Steph Curry. They got over that hurdle. So you get a B from me. Job well done. Keep building on what y'all building. Get another piece or two, and y'all be right back where y'all was this year.
Yeah, B+. Giving him a B+. I think a lot of what Paul is saying, but also the one thing that I did not like early on when he got at, kind of called out Ant-Man, and Ant-Man responded. So clearly he knew his player better than I did. So I'm giving him an uptick just for that alone.
Well, that's what the plus is for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a B. To Paul's point, like they did more than we expected them to, and I like the fact that over the course of the season he developed Julius Randle into a player who could fit into their system and do what he did at least through the first 2 series. So I am giving him a B.
So we got B's across the board for Chris Finch, echoing everything that you guys have said. I think he is the right guy for the job, and they did take a 6 seed.
Hey, look,
Go ahead.
I got one
Go
too
ahead.
now. I got one
Bring
too.
it. Bring it. Bring it. Bring
This
it.
is like pickleball.
Bring it.
Pickleball. What are you, 80?
All right.
Snowball here.
Justin Fields is a Jet and hopes to be great in New York. We'll tell you our expectations for the new Jets quarterback. That's next on Speak. Justin Fields is settling into his role as the Jets starting quarterback and shared his high expectations for himself in New York. Let's take a listen.
It's been great, and that's been the goal for me my whole life, my whole career. So, like I said, I think the sky's the limit, for this team, for this offense. But we do have a long way to go. Like I said, our offense and defense are new, so guys are really tuned in and locked in and trying to get everything down. But I think once we do, I think the sky's the limit.
So, Key, will Justin Fields be great for our Jets?
Do I want to use the word great, though? Yeah, I'll use it. Yeah, I think he will be. I think he will be great. The sky is the limit in this situation. And I think that Aaron Glenn coming in understands, and he's played against Justin Fields in Chicago when he was a DC in Detroit. So he understands who this kid is and the ability that he can deliver the football in sync with Garrett Wilson and the rest of the company, including the young Mason Taylor. So you got to take full advantage of the opportunity. And I think for Justin Fields, whether it was at the University of Georgia when he had to leave to go to Ohio State, and then all of a sudden he gets drafted by Chicago but never was really put into a situation to be able to excel at the level that his talent can take him. Then he goes to Pittsburgh and you start to see some stuff, but they didn't like some things that was going on offensively with the offense, so they yanked him, put in Russell Wilson, and now they're without a quarterback, and he moves on to the Jets, and Aaron Glenn and company feels that he's the guy that could get them to where they want to go. And I believe that. I honestly, because to me, when I look at the comparisons, Paul, he kind of reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts. He really honestly does. He runs the football a lot better. But it's kind of the same situation.
Yeah, I think he can be great. I think he's going to have every opportunity to be great. He's going to be able to. See, this is the thing. When you're trying to get better in the league and get your confidence, you got to be able to make mistakes and not look over your shoulders. And he couldn't do that in Pittsburgh. He was 4-2 with less weapons that he's going to have here with the Jets. And so I really think he's going to get a rapport with his young teammates. They're going to be able to build together. And I see a bright future here in New York for these two. Now, will they win off the jump? Maybe not. But I think, in the near future, with him at quarterback, running things the way, he's grown over the last couple of years, especially in Pittsburgh under Russell Wilson, and the fire that they lit from benching him is going to ignite something in this young kid, and I think he will.
I mean, I think this is his best opportunity to have success in his career so far. Chicago wasn't it. He didn't have the runway with the Steelers. If he had the runway over the whole season with the Steelers, it might be a different situation. But obviously, he went 4-2, and then they went to Russ. He has had moments where we've seen the spark and the talent that he has, but this is really going to be his team, and he has some exciting pieces to work with. Yeah. And this feels like a reset for the Jets in a lot of ways. Obviously, the Jets have struggled for a long time to find an identity, to be able to cut through in that division. And the young pieces and young core that the Jets have put together with Justin Fields, I think really puts them in a position to compete. Obviously, the Bills are big dog in that division, and I think they'll continue to be. But other than that, it's really wide open. And they've put together an offense and offensive weapons that will help support him. I mean, obviously, they have Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, they brought in Mason, and they still have some other veteran pieces there as well. So I think he has every opportunity to be great with the Jets.
No, he will. And it's going to really be based on the defense, running the football, and him taking care of the football when they allow him to throw it. And if he does that, Jets are winning the division.
Well, over to another young quarterback. Shedeur Sanders reportedly fell in the NFL draft because of his reported lack of preparation for pre-draft meetings with teams. Dion talked about the reports and admitted they hurt him, but ultimately the fall in the draft could be the edge that Shedeur can use to prove himself. So, Key, what does Shedeur have to prove as a rookie?
Well, first of all, you already know where I'm starting. I need him to learn how to get on the highway and get off at the right exit and get to the stadium and on time. Don't need him running late, don't need him doing any of those things, because all that'll do is start this negative, he's not prepared type mess. Now, move on from that. I'm not going to ask him to do a lot. Whenever he becomes the starter or get playing time, I'm not going to ask him to do a lot. I'm going to basically rely on my defense in a short field and bring him along slowly. Too many times these young quarterbacks are put in situations to not excel and to succeed. And people say, well, how could that be? Every coach wants their players to succeed. Yeah, they do. But if they don't know what the hell they're doing and putting them in the right positions, which I don't think Kevin Stefanski is that guy, he knows what to do. And don't get caught up in the big lights in the situation, because he's going to be polarizing, number one. That's just what it is. It is what it is. He's going to have a crazy fanfare because people just gravitate to guys like a Shedeur because of his personality. And don't pay attention to the social media stuff, because there's going to always be some people out there that takes clips, utilize them, whether it's friends, family, or just fans in general, and somehow try to get your attention to take a look at what people may be saying about your performance and who you are. And if you get wrapped up in that and don't pay attention to the prize and the task at hand, you'll get swallowed up by the National Football League, which I don't think that'll happen to him. But I'd like to see him just play really good football. And I think Kevin Stefanski will put him in a position just to do that. Just play football, do the things that you've been doing your entire career, and have that, and he'll have the success doing that.
So the question is, what does Shedeur have to do? What he has to prove? I think, knowing that he's a fifth-round pick, it's a chance he might not play this whole season.
But right now, that round doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay.
That's over.
Like, for me, I think he has to prove he has to erase the stigma. The things that surrounded him, his character, and things of that nature. He has to exhibit great practice habits. That's what I need from him. I need his body language. I need him to be enthusiastic. I need him to be happy to be there every day trying to get better. That's what I need to see from Shedeur. Now, if he gets to play, that's a bonus. But he has to get better every day. He has to show me that he belongs in the National Football League. You know, so those are, if I'm a coach and I'm a player and I'm a vet, those are the things I'm looking for. Do I have any expectations from him as a rookie? I'm not sure yet. You know, it depends. Let's see how things go. But the little things, I need to see that he's heading in the right direction to erase the stigma that's been surrounded around him based on who he is, to erase the naysayers and erase those things that's been said about him.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of already doing that. Like he's winning teammates over and winning people over in the organization. But I think it's really going to depend on how the preseason goes. All of those things are true. He's got no room for the, bad body language and, any kind of critiques about how involved he is or locked in he is, which I don't think will be a problem. But, the preseason is going to be the opportunity for him to separate himself with everyone else. And I agree, this is a wide open competition, but there is a depth chart and it's going to go Kenny Pickett, likely Dillon Gabriel, and then Shedeur Sanders, which is why I believe the preseason will be super important for what he's going to do to separate himself.
MGM Sportsbooks has Shedeur the most bets at 10.5% and money at 23.5 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So they obviously think, based on the money that's coming in, that he will wind up at some point.
That's free money.
Man, I don't gamble, so I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, they got him.
Like, people going to make that bet, but I don't know if he's going to get enough of the opportunity, like some receivers or some defensive players. I mean, not defense, but, like the receivers.
Genty.
Or the rookie running backs.
Genty will get it. But if he starts.
If he starts week one, yes.
Yeah.
So the first couple games, so to speak. It can have to be week one. He can miss 3 games and still be in the mix.
Yeah.
Because he's a quarterback.
Yeah. We'll see. See how the preseason goes. Coming up, it's time to head to the Truth Lounge, where Paul will tell us who is in the VIP section heading into the finals.
It looks empty over
That's
here
next
now.
on Speak. Where's our security?
We cleaning up. We got to clean up. We got to clean up from last night.
Man, them chicken wings is weak.
Anybody can walk up in there.
Hey, guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Welcome back to Speak. We're sitting here in the Truth Lounge. Thank you to our security, D-Nell. Only 2 teams left in the playoffs. So, Paul, what section are the Thunder and Pacers into today?
Everybody listen, Joy, everybody's in the Truth Lounge because it's only VIPs, invite only. This is exclusive. This is the final round. 2 teams left. No more general admission. No more sitting at the bar. Everybody's in the Truth Lounge sitting at the VIP, and we have 2 teams.
If you didn't have an invite, you cannot come.
If you are not invited, if you're not part of the
ones.
Pacers or the Thunder, we'll catch y'all next year. Everybody's in, invite only. The 2 top teams, this is it. This is exclusive. This is exclusive now.
We got the exclusive music going.
The only exclusive, listen, this is the best of the best now.
So the Celtics can't even come in no more.
Nah, they on the list for,
next year.
For next year.
Next year.
Top of the list for next year, guys.
Yeah, they're on the list for next year.
The Thunder have 7-1 odds to win the finals, which is tied for the 7th biggest odds in finals history. Should the Thunder be this big of a favorite over the Pacers?
Man, I know when you look at the statistics, people are gonna say yeah, but I don't think it's as big as of a gap as people might think, because the Pacers are well coached. They have depth. They're unpredictable. And to get here, they went through some pretty good teams. Like the Knicks were really good. They beat the Celtics. They beat the #1 Cavs, who they handled easily, who won 64 games. So I don't think it's the odds should be that much because I truly believe that the Pacers are going to be the biggest challenge to the Thunder.
See, I think when you're looking at the odds, though, you're talking about a team that the number one seed on both sides, whether it's East or West in OKC, the depth that OKC has, the MVP.
Yeah.
I think they should be the favorites like that, though, Joy. I don't think that
overwhelming favorites.
This is like this favorite. This is equivalent
because
to
again, but if you go back, and I know we continue to always joke about it and talk about it, but if you go back to the Knicks series and you go to game 1, and the hope and the prayer, there was luck involved. That's just the reality of it.
Okay, but even if there was luck involved in that first one, they did close them out early.
No, they closed them out. They got them done in 6. There's no question about it. But it wasn't like they ran shop on them. OKC ran shop pretty much on everybody that they ran up against. They didn't have a tough series.
You say that about OKC. One thing, if Aaron Gordon doesn't get hurt in Game 7, can OKC? So I think there's a element of luck that you need to get to where these guys are today. You know what I'm saying? Being in the right place, Key. We'd have met some people being in the right place at the right time. We got lucky. You know what I'm saying?
I know about this game that's taking place here on Thursday in Game 1. That's what I know about Joy. I don't know what Anthony's talking about.
I think it's steep for them to be that much of a favorite. The Pacers are a physical team. They're a good defensive team. They play very fast. I think this will be a really good matchup for the Thunder. I'm also just kind of hoping that all this is true because I would really like to see a 7-game competitive series in the finals with these two teams.
Yeah.
But I also do think it will be closer than what these numbers are saying. Who are the biggest X factors for each team in the finals?
Let me see who I got here. Biggest X factors for me. I'm gonna start with the Thunder.
Okay.
Jalen Williams. The Thunder are 7-1 when J-Dub scores 20 or more points in the playoffs. It don't get no more X factor for me than that because if I see him getting hot early and I know he on the roll, that's the difference in the game. So I'm going with the Thunder, Jalen Williams. J-Dub, as I like to call him, as they like to call him, because they got 2 Jalen Williamses on the team.
And for the Pacers?
And so for the Pacers, I'm gonna go with Miles Turner. I know what I expect from Siakam and I know what I expect from Haliburton. Miles Turner, he won't have the pressure of guarding a guy like Cat every night. That was a lot for him. He'll have Holmgren and Hartenstein. They don't put the same pressure that Cat put on him. So he has to hit shots. I think he's gonna be open a lot for top threes at the top because they'll help us so much on Haliburton and all the other guys that he'll be left open. His defense on SGA when he's driving will be key. And I need him to score. I need him to get 20. I need him to get 20 because the Pacers are 4-0 when Miles Turner scores 20 points. That's huge for them. If he can give one 20-point game and they win and be an X factor, that's going to go a long way for the Pacers in winning this series, I'm telling you.
It's going X factor-wise for OKC, Chet Holmgren. Okay, now you got to figure out what to do with him. Is he going to stand outside and shoot threes all day long? Is he going to get his big ass down low and take advantage of his size? Because what's the matchup for Indy with him? Do you put Siakam on him? Or who you going to actually have guard him? Are you all of a sudden going to have Toppin guarding him? Or where's that at? Then, in terms of Indy, McConnell. That's what I look at. Okay. I look at him. What is he going to bring to the table? And now all of a sudden you're going to have to match that energy with Caruso, and we know what Caruso brings on both ends of the floor.
Right.
Are the Knicks' chances of getting back in the lounge better or worse after parting ways with Thibodeau?
Ooh, are they? Man, we about to make this a members-only club. Man, it's gonna be tough. You know what? I'm gonna put them on the waiting list, Joyce.
Waiting list.
They got some personal issues to iron out. I gotta see if other members want them in, but the window is still open for them, though.
Yeah.
I will say that the window is open, but I gotta talk to Key and Joy. I gotta talk to y'all. We gotta huddle up on this one.
Yeah,
but right now, they got to deal with some personal issues that they gotta wait till after the summer.
Well, that's the Truth Lounge. Members only.
Here you go.
What's this?
That's your drink. That's yours. There you go. There you go. I got one for you, Joy. There you go.
This ain't no Mahenta. This is some Sacenta. I don't know where you get this from.
Oh, man. You know what I'm saying?
Dan Campbell wants his team to be out on the field biting kneecaps, but what are their playoff chances this season with so many off-season moves? Thank you, Dino.
Oh, nope.
That's next.
Oh, man, let them in, boy. Cool.
The Titans drafted Cam Ward to be their quarterback this year. That leaves Will Levis in the backup role, and he spoke about how tough the situation is. Speak up, Will.
You know, anyone who's ever been in my situation can agree that it sucks, and just trying to do everything I can to not let it affect me, and just, you know, being just the same dude every day in the building.
Man, that's tough.
You don't want to be the same dude every day in the building. You want to change, right, Joey? Oh, God.
Don't do nothing that you did last year. You were the backup?
Ever been in a situation?
That's a tough situation because, you know, Will Levis is still kind of young. And then you got a rookie #1 pick coming in that's going to, like, for sure take the starting spot. I mean,
you can fight him off, though.
It's no light at the end of this tunnel.
You can fight him off.
What you mean, the first few weeks?
You fight him off and you do well in training camp, and you put the pressure on them to make the decision.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You put the pressure. Why are you looking at me?
Based on the #1 picks that's been coming out lately, they getting that starting job, Key.
Yeah, but if I'm in training camp and I'm getting equal amount of reps, which at the start of training camp usually happens, you get the equal amount of reps. If you take advantage of those reps and you just do your deal in your job, you can make it hard on them coaches.
If Will Levis is starting at the beginning of this season, somebody gonna be on the hot seat. Cause look, we're not gonna win anyway.
Fun's toasty.
Yeah, it's gonna get.
Maybe the light turns on for him all of a sudden.
But the thing is, you want to start the process of the development of your future now.
No question.
You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, no, they've already shown that they're moving on from Will Levis. Yeah. But what I would say is that you can make it hard if you just do your job and grow up, Paul. If you do your job, there's no question about it. If he goes out there and he erases all the bad stuff that went on a year ago with him, and he goes out there and does his job. Good job, Joy, powering through. Let's go.
He's writing it down so he doesn't forget.
I'm gonna use that one.
Do it on your own time, man. We here.
The Lions lost a lot of pieces this offseason, including both coordinators and center Frank Ragnow, who retired yesterday. Detroit also has a tough 2025 schedule, but Dan Campbell is looking forward to facing that challenge. Let's take a listen.
I just think the challenge of it is what you really love. It's why you love this game, you know, the NFL. That's why I said it's best. I mean, to be able to not only here at home, our own division, go on the road. I mean, some of these teams, it's going to be, I mean, it's awesome, man. I mean, to me, by the end of the year, we ought to be just scarred up, you know? We should be scarred up and ready to go, hardened for battle and ready for the playoffs. And there'll be nothing easy about it. You still, just to get through our own division is going to be brutal. So, but it's the right kind of brutal.
The right kind of brutal. Mm-hmm. Are you confident the Lions maintain the playoff standard they set the last two seasons?
No, I'm not confident at all. I got them winning like 8 games this year.
Whoa!
I look at and understand what Dan is saying, but when you lose, not just your coordinators, but important members of the staff is also gone, that takes a toll on you.
And now your center.
And now your center retired on you in the middle of the night. So now it's just, and I understand what Dan is saying. Dan gonna be tough. You know, he gonna bite off kneecaps. That's who Dan is. But you're losing too much. You know, you start off with Green Bay at Green Bay. Then you play Chicago with your former offensive coordinator coming to your building. So he knows where all the bones are buried, right? That he was there for however many years. Then you go to Baltimore, and then you play Cleveland, then you go to Cincinnati and back right into Kansas City right after that. I mean, that's a little bit of a gauntlet.
Yeah, and then, you know,
then you play Tampa Bay.
Football is no
and then you play Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's a tough stretch before the bye. What do you think, Paul?
I got them winning 10 games, but for the most part, they might have the most talented team in the division. Key, when you talk about top to bottom.
Yeah, I think they're talented, no question about it.
Like, who's more, like, they probably got the best quarterback. They definitely got the best running back duo. the best receiver. Like, I understand.
They got a lot.
They got a lot. That's what I'm saying. Probably the best coach. And so when I look at that thing, and I know they lost their OCDC and they lost their center, which is key pieces. I still think the talent really makes up, and I think Dan Campbell's going to really have them locked in to where I think they do. I'm looking at the schedule. It is brutal, but I think they win 10 games.
Man, they lost Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Terrell Williams, who's now in the Patriots DC, Randa L., who is now the Bears' assistant head coach. They lost J.T. Barrett, who went to the Bears as the quarterback coach. So just think about that. They lost the tight end coach, who's with the Jets. They lost the D-line coach, who's not there. They lost the pass game coordinator, who's now the Jets' offensive coordinator. Like, they just basically, they got a whole new staff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough schedule to start with a whole new staff. And, replacing your center is
key.
A very, very big deal. So I don't know that they're going to miss the playoffs, but I do expect them to take a step back. Now, that doesn't mean that this is, the end of this Dan Campbell run in Detroit. They've built up enough culture.
Yeah.
And, they have a very talented team with key pieces still together. But, that happens. And when you have these really deep playoff runs and your coaches get poached and you have to restaff, and sometimes it can take a little bit of turnover to get it done. I still think they're going to be very competitive within the division. But that's a lot to replace.
And remember, Philly lost their center and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they had everybody in pieces in play, and the coaches was still there.
Yeah. No, they lost. No,
the head coach was still
there. The head coach, similar to Detroit.
The head coach is still here, too. But remember, Philly also had a year where they had a little bit of the turmoil with the coaches in between that they had because they had to replace them. So coming up, Paul has seen the Indiana Pacers in the postseason before. We'll take a look back at one of his best performances against them next on Speak. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has gotten the nickname the free throw merchant, but Paul Pierce might have been the original free throw merchant.
Maybe.
Our staff came across a Celtics-Pacers playoff game from 2003 where Paul went 21 of 21 from the free throw line in a 103-100 win. At the time, it was an NBA playoff record for most free throws made in a game without missing.
Yeah, definitely.
Is this true? Were you the original?
I think I may be the. I think I averaged like 10 free throws a night during that time in the NBA.
He was 100%?
21 for 21. That was a record at the time. It was a playoff record. I think Dirk broke it. He went 22 for 22 one game. That was an NBA record at the time, though.
Damn.
Oh, yeah, I was physical, Key. I was going to the rack. I'm going to the rack.
You shot the damn ball every chance you got.
You got to get fouled. You got to get fouled.
You didn't have no other playmakers, though.
You can make it.
The hot dog.
If you do your job.
Stop, you hot dog. Leave it alone.
See you tomorrow, 5:30. Enjoy your evening.
What you say, Key?
What's the job?